Namaskar and welcome to this exciting new episode of Sattology Debunking Mythology. Sat means truth, Logos means a study or science, Sattology means a science of truth or study of truth. Opposite of that is mythology. Myth is a Sanskrit root word, dhatu, which means is a fake lie or imagination. Logos means a study or science, so mythology word means actually a study of fake lie or imagination or science of fake lie or imagination. Now, it is very ironical that most of the Abrahamic groups in the Western academic system don't want to call their history as mythology, but they will call Indian ancient history, Ramayana and Mahabharata, as mythology. That's how the poisonous this word is, mythology. And that's why we created a new word, and based on the same principles the way mythology was created, the opposite of myth is Sattology. So we always say that the Indian ancient history is Sattology because it has been proven through archaeology, proven through astronomy, and proven through various other ways. Up to 27 different forms of carbon dating methodologies have been used only to verify the Indian claims, and all have been verified. There has been not a single claim of the Brahmic faith that has been put to such test. Not a single one. You know why? Because they know they'll fail. So it's a real mythology. So without delay, we have a very, very special guest. She has a deep love for India. She is a German citizen and stays in India. Now she's a Bharatiya and writes. That's her passion. Very famous all over the world, especially in the Hindu community, and everybody knows her love for the culture. So without delay, let us welcome Sri Maria Wirth. So namaste Maria ji, and she speaks
Namaste,
very good
Aditya
Hindi.
ji.
She speaks very good Hindi, so I'll a little bit speak in Hindi. Namaste Maria.
मैं सब समझ सकती हूँ लेकिन इतने अच्छी नहीं बोल सकती.
अभी आप किस शहर में रहते हैं इंडिया में? दिल्ली में रहते हैं ना?
देहरादून.
Dehradun. Oh, my favorite town.
Yeah. Opa.
Dehradun. Upar. Yes. You have chosen the
Yeah.
best place in India.
Yeah. Actually, when I came here some 40 years ago first, because of Ananda Mama, she moved here from Hatwa. Hatwa was very hot. And when she came here, and it felt like, oh, I know every tree here. It felt so familiar. I really liked Dehradun. It has changed a lot, of course, but still.
Yeah. You know, Dehradun, I'll talk to you separately about the beauty of Dehradun. And one of my best friends is also from there. So coming back to this today's discussion, I want to really focus on your worries. So what do you worry about Sanatana Dharma?
Not about Sanatan Dharma. I mean, Sanatana Dharma is eternal and it will never go away. It is understood. And usually Hindus also brings this argument and they are right. But I am worried that sometime in future, Hindus in India will be in a similar position like nowadays Hindus in Pakistan or in Bangladesh. And this must not happen. And I feel India has many enemies. And so far, I used to think the two main enemies are Christianity and Islam, the two Abrahamic religions which want to expand over the whole world. Even so, they have taken so much from India. They have copied basically. Their religion is they took the one God actually. If you can see it, the one Brahman, and they distorted it into a kind of personal God who has likes and dislikes and doesn't like certain people and even sends them to hell. So this is in a way a distortion. So I feel they don't want their people to know this origin of everything. But now I feel there's one more great danger, and this is first, of course, the education. Macaulay has done a perfect job, one could say, from his point of view. He really has done a lot of harm to Hindus. And sometimes I wonder who is actually a Hindu, no? Because Hindu name, okay. But now I think there are many Hindus. I mean, the good thing about Hindus is that they are normal human beings. They are not brainwashed into, sorry, into some blind beliefs that they have to, excuse me, they have to believe something which is not really, which doesn't make sense. In this way, Hindus grow up in a very nice way. But nowadays, there's not much difference between Hindus and Christians or even Muslims in the sense that a great trust in Bhagwan is there, in God is there. But more than this, there's maybe not so many people who go further and really want to know more about what their Dharma is actually about. Aditya, I can't see you. I find it very difficult to talk to myself.
So thank you so much for the opening line. Thank you. So I'm there. I'm listening very attentively every single word that you speak, and just for recording purposes, we do that now. And many hundreds of people right now have joined, and it is increasing now. A lot of people are watching us. So, Maria ji, I really deeply thank you for the concern that you have, and it is a very, very thoughtful concern, and especially you are living in a place of Dun, Dera. It's a platform, is a beautiful place, filled with spirituality, and then nearby you have beautiful hills over there. Bhagavad Gita in 6th chapter, 5th shloka says, Uddharet atmanatmanam atmeva hi atmana bandhuratmeva ripuratmana. So he says that we need to deliver atmana. Atman is a word used for mind. We should deliver our mind, deliver our body through our mind, because mind is the greatest friend when it is controlled, and it is the greatest enemy when it is not controlled. It's a beautiful word by Krishna to Arjun.
Actually, this is also, this is a very important aspect of Hindu Dharma, to strive to get over the lower nature, over greed, over anger, over lust, and dedicate one's life really to the highest, to Bhagwan, however one wants to call it. I feel when Hindus are sometimes confused about the gods, devas, I think gods is a wrong translation actually, because the gods are in a way almost like us in the sense they are not they are already in this creation, and from Brahman and his innate Shakti, the gunas come, and then Brahma, Vishnu, Shiva, Mahesh come. So it is, I feel there is no need to be apologetic or feel for Indians to say, oh, we have so many gods. I hear sometimes even maybe we should go back to one god. No, I feel you have a very wonderful system, in the sense there's so much variety in this world, and the explanation how this universe came about is basically is most perfect in your tradition. No other Christianity and Islam they have copied a little bit, but very in a very primitive way almost. They put it only 6,000 years old. It doesn't work. Nobody can really uphold this Bible creation of the universe. But you have the Puranas, which I am so fascinated about, that there's so much knowledge in them. And this, I feel you should be, Hindus can be proud, but then it is often said, oh, we should not always look back, and we were great at one point of time. Now we have to look. It's true also, but you should know how great your culture was. And it was so great because there was this exchange between beings who are greater than the human being. Brahma is creating different beings. So I feel a human being cannot know all this, what is in your scriptures. And there were millions of scriptures. When I just was waiting for this come, I opened a book by Alok Kumar. He's in America, I think Oswego University, Ancient Hindu Science. I was so amazed, like it starts, the introduction, the first nation to have cultivated science is Hind. This is a powerful nation having a large population and a rich kingdom. Hind is known for the wisdom of its people. Over many centuries, all the kings of the past have recognized the ability of the Hindus in all branches of knowledge. Now, this was written in 1068, 11th century, by one Said al-Andalusi, who lived in Spain, a Muslim. The Muslims were already in Spain at the time. But at that time, there was still more interest in science and mathematics and so on. At that time, also, Nalanda had not yet been burned. Imagine millions of texts were burned in Nalanda. What was in these texts? We don't know. But India was so much ahead. And I feel this pride should be there. And then to go into the content of, how to say, like Bhagavad Gita. Bhagavad Gita is a perfect manual how to live one's life in the different types of yoga, jnana yoga, bhakti yoga, karma yoga, and getting rid of desire. And even it says you don't even need the Vedas. But of course, make use of the Vedas. Till when one realizes this ocean, then there's no need for a little lake, it says, no? So for the scriptures, but the scriptures which are here in India, I was so much impressed. I was starved in Germany when I was not believing anymore this Christian God, and that he's so unfair. And first I had doubt, is there a God? Maybe not, I don't know. And then I thought there must be some power. But only when I came to India, it made so much sense. It was so clear, everything. It was so well explained. And so then I felt, if this is not true, if what I believe I am is not true, if I'm not a small person in a big world, but if I'm really one with everything, then I want to live my life in a way that I can realize this. And I feel I was very lucky because in the beginning, when I came to India, I met Ananda Mama, I met Devaraha Baba. I landed up at the Kumbh Mela by chance in Hardwar, 1980, Arta Kumbh Mela it was. So in the surrounding of those personalities 40 years ago, the atmosphere was still very different, I feel. It's not so easy to get into such an atmosphere today. That's why I am worried also. And I feel even maybe also all this junk food has a very negative effect. I was in Kankal once and I went to different ashrams, and I went to the ashram also of Sitaram Omkanath. I met him in 1980 briefly. He visited Ananda Mama. I saw him. He was a very old man at the time, and he had passed away. And when I went to the ashram there, I met Swami, and I asked him, are there people around nowadays who have the same caliber like Swami Sitaram Omkanad? And then immediately he said no. Then I said, how can you say so strongly no? How can you be so sure? And he said, look, Swami, he cooked his own food. He would eat only very pure things. You don't get this today. And what we eat affects our mind. So we are kind of not, this to get this purity is not so easy for us anymore. And this comes also like Ananda Mema, for example, she would never take allopathic medicine. She would eat very, very little, just a handful. And and even when she was very sick at the end, before she died, people who were around her, they were telling me she would not take any synthetic drugs or any allopathic medicine. And even my help, Suman, she told me that her daddy, never in her life she took any tablet, any drug. She just would make her, if she was not well, she would make her own. She knows a lot about herbs and about Ayurveda, so she would make these things. No, now all these, this kind of lifestyle has very much changed, and I feel this, of course, also the hectic and the busyness and running after a job, and it affects to settle down and think what is actually important in life. How do is it the most important thing to preserve life? What is nowadays always in the news? We have to save every life. Or is it more important to live life where you feel fulfilled? And this feeling of fulfillment, one would know oneself.
You live in a place called the foothills of Himalaya. Shivaliks start from there.
Yeah.
And that's where the pilgrims used to rest, Dehradun, before they go to a further higher stretch in Himalaya to start practicing. You have beautiful places near Shivpuri and Rajgir. Nowadays, it has become more, more commercial. But at the same time, in the same place, you see the biggest attack on the minds of Indian students, young students. You have a lot of schools over there, very famous schools in India. And those schools do not teach anything about Sanatana Dharma in their curriculum. In fact, they produce children who are mesmerized by the Western education, and they are taught to become the slaves of the Western education. And despite India, that is the place where people used to discuss Bhagavad Puran and different Puran and Upanishad. That was a place, Dehradun. And it was always a place of learning, and it was a place of preparation also to go something higher. To Haridwar, you go to, so Dehradun was a place of education. So what
you're so right. Yeah.
So what is your view on this? Because the problems that you see around you also, where you live.
Yeah, actually, the first 20 years, when I came, I landed up, I was fortunate, I landed up in Hardwar by chance. And I met Ananda Mema, I met Devaraha Baba, I came to Dehradun briefly. I didn't stay here, just visiting, being in the surrounding of Ananda Mema. And then I always had in my mind, I love Dehradun, I would like to settle here, maybe longer. But this happened only after 20 years, only in 2002. That my life collapsed after 7 years always. Somehow I was at a place and then it so happened. But in 2002, finally I said, now I would like to go to Dehradun. And it was in Dehradun, up to that time, for 20 years, 22 years, I was very much, I did not take part in politics, or I was not reading newspaper, I didn't have a TV. I was mainly in ashrams. I would visit pilgrimage places. I would do a lot of meditation. So I was in this, what I call spiritual India. And then when I came to Dehradun, I got such a shock because for the first time, I met people who looked down on their tradition so badly. Now it happened. I came into this circle of people who were what I did not know at that time, but now I know, who are called secular, who so who are kind of so modern, and being modern, it seemed, included that you have to be very dismissive of your tradition. And I think they were very shocked that I defended Hindu Dharma. I almost thought, sometimes I was even saying, I think you would be more happy if I would be a missionary, a Christian missionary, instead of, and somehow this was very painful for me. Of course, I couldn't keep quiet. I would say my view. And once a woman even said, Maria, don't say it, you lose all your friends. And then I said, look, if that means they are not my friends. And actually, I withdrew quite a bit from this circle now. I mean, nice people, kind people, everything, but very, very brainwashed through their education. They spoke English mainly at home. And I think it's such a pity, because they may think that that they are so progressive or so modern, but it almost, they are more, in a way, pitiable. I have a cousin. I met him. It was in 1983 already. I met some cousins because her uncle had died, and I was in Germany. And one of them, he was working in America as a project manager. He was young at the time, and I told him, "Oh, I love India. I am in India now, and I love it." And then he said, "That is very strange, because the Indians I meet in America, and he was working with them, he got the impression that they only say what, how did he say it? They only say what they think you would like to hear." And I think this has changed meanwhile. It was 40 years ago almost. Nowadays, people are far more confident, but I feel still there is this attempt to be thinking to be accepted by the West by talking like they talk. And this is, I don't think this is appreciated. If you have your own stand, and it is, people, Westerners like it much more if you are solid in your own view. Of course, it's not so easy when you are like a student coming there, and maybe also you are pressurized even to convert. I met once an Indian who was a scientist teaching in a university in America, and he relocated to India. And on the flight we were talking, and very intelligent, two young boy, not young, not so young, in their 30s, but much younger than I was. And then he was telling me that he converted to Christianity 8 years ago. And I was, of course, shocked. He did not think that I would be shocked. He thought maybe I am pleased. And I asked him, and he couldn't really answer why he did. And then I told him, look, you have to believe now that your parents and your family goes to hell if they don't convert. Then he said, do you believe this? Yes, we have to believe it, he said. And then he also said that his parents had already converted. He managed that he converted his parents, but not his brothers and sisters. So that is such a pitiable condition, because look, Christianity, there are many good people, but the philosophy or the belief system, it is completely based on blind belief that 2000 years ago, the great God has sent down his son on this earth to die for our sins and in this way to save us. This is a story. And you are told as a Christian, look, we don't know the truth. We have to believe it because only God knows the truth. And you don't even think about it because you can never know it. So you think, okay, maybe it's true. But it doesn't satisfy. And when you come to India, then there's so much clarity, so much, everything is explained. You are asked even to ask questions. So that's why, to come back to this topic, I am worried that this attitude must never disappear. Like even nowadays, in America too, in Germany too, even maybe in India, one cannot ask questions anymore to certain topics. Like one example, like when Trump got censored by Twitter and ultimately even thrown out as a sitting president of America, he was not allowed to say, which was normal to say because so many affidavits were given to say there may have been fraud. And you would be almost lynched for saying something which would make sense also, or which should be, one should be able to discuss about it. Or even in our time now, this COVID crisis, is vaccination really the only means to get over it? One cannot talk about it anymore, which is that is very dangerous. Hindu Dharma asks you to ask questions, it wants people to be free, to be strong, not controlled. But what is the powers who are now in charge? And this is, Asian religions are very powerful, but probably even more powerful is this global elite, which is now there, which influences education, it influences what we eat, and it influences our health very strongly. So they want us, all three of them, they want us to be controlled. They don't want us to be free. And they are really very much on the way to getting us. They are how to say, like sheep. They are making us in the flock of sheep to go along with whatever is said and which is so-called politically correct narrative. And I feel this is very worrisome. And it happens also in India. And I always used to think that Indians are not, they are the only people who are not brainwashed. Maybe before I came to Dehradun, because Christians are brainwashed in the sense you have to believe something which you cannot know. Muslims are brainwashed in the sense you have to believe something which you cannot know. You have to believe it. And Hindus could ask questions. What is the origin of this word? Who am I? That is a very important question. What is my essence? Is it really one with everything as the Vedas, the Upanishads say? Can I find out when the Upanishad said Brahman is not what the eyes can see, but whereby the eyes see, not what the ears can hear, but whereby the ears hear? So these things are very, they make sense. And I feel if the world would be in a healthy condition, the most healthy condition would be if the Hindu mindset would dominate. It might have been dominating in ancient times, when in Europe also, or in America, when there was not yet Christianity and There was not yet Islam. It's very recently, only 2000 years old, not even. So this openness, of course, bad people were always there. I mean, this good and bad is happening, but Hindu Dharma clearly tells you, you stick to the dharmic path, and it will be best. Nothing can happen to you, even if you die. You die and you come back. Or if you have finished here, you merge in Brahman. Nothing is lost. It is just like Ananda Mama used to compare it with dying with, you change your old dress. The body is like a dress. You get a new one. Wonderful, no?
No, you correctly said, the philosophy of Sanatana Dharma is very beautiful and it is fulfilling to the heart. And that's why we see more and more intelligent Americans, educated Americans also questioning it day by day. We meet so many people who question it, and they are considered, put in the category of agnostics by the American research, whatever they call it. But most of the surveys in America are not real surveys, they're opinions. And there is no data to back it up. So, who said agnostic? Nobody will tell you who. They said we took a sample. So everything works on a sample. So 1,000 people they survey, and if 50% of them says they don't believe in Christianity or any other organized book-based religions, they'll consider them as agnostics, but they will not ask them what you believe in, because a human being cannot live without a faith or belief. But they won't ask those questions. And generally the answer is Buddha or Hinduism. Only these two answers people give. So the surveys in America or in the Western world are entirely fudged. So when they claim it's a Judeo-Christian country, they're claiming only on the basis of 25% of Americans, only 25%, because the rest of the people said either agnostic or they're neutral. They are generally, people are good. The goodness in people need to be appreciated. People have common sense. People will say, I'm in this field here for a long time. So I meet a lot of people every day, where people, I interact with them. And so generally they are not aware of it. Like if you ask anyone what they believe in it, they'll say, okay, I believe in common sense. I believe nobody telling me anything. See, understand, Americans are the most sold people in the world. Everyone is selling them something. Insurance from the morning, coffee in the morning, McDonald's is selling them. They're the heavily advertised people. Like everyone is putting an advertisement to get a single penny out of their pocket, and down to that level. And so that's the situation in the Western world, because like you said, faith is a commodity, belief is a commodity which they sell and nobody can question. But in Sanatana Dharma and Hinduism, you are encouraged to question. In the whole Bhagavad Gita, if you look at it, it's a question and answers. And starts with Dhritarashtra, he says what happened, and then Arjuna keeps asking question, and Krishna is answering. And that is the best way to resolve your queries. So if I was giving you a choice to ask a question to Hindus, what will be your question to the Hindus?
What do you think is the most important thing in life?
Yes. Or you can also, my question to the Hindus will be, when the whole world is falling apart because of all those book-based faiths, why do you think Sanatana Dharma is becoming attractive to the whole world, but not you, who is supposed to be the custodian and who is supposed to be teaching others what you have learned, or the great rishis, your ancestors have done it. So Maria, like when I give you a chance, like if from your side you have been into the traditions, there is a very famous story. A German scholar came to India, again a German, and he wanted to know who is the greatest god in Sanatana Dharma, because the Western world is taught a story that Hindus have many gods. And so this German scholar went around and he met actually Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur in Bengal. And Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur asked him, who you think is God according to you? So the German scholar said, I surveyed all the temples, everywhere I searched, but there was only one person who was not doing any work. And I think that he is the God because he was only playing flute. That means God means he's just enjoying. That was his answer. So, so according to you, what in the Indian education system or the Indian system, because you live there, but what should be changed so that they have build more greater respect for their own culture?
Yesterday, I read an interesting article. No, it was a clip which came on WhatsApp from Vion, that Saudi Arabia is now teaching Ramayana and Mahabharata and maybe even the Upanishads. Saudi Arabia. This is a very good thing, and it has to come into Indian education also. I met once a teacher. She was teaching in a Bangalore Christian school, and she said when the Christian children had catechism class, then she had to teach the Hindu children ethics, but she was not allowed to mention even once her beloved Krishna, she was telling me, and she felt pain. She is not allowed to mention. I don't know how it is now. It was maybe 5 years ago when she told me this. So this cannot be. I mean, there is this group, Equality for Hindus. I feel this is a very important thing, that at least Hindus in their own country, they don't ask for equality in Germany or in America. In their own country, which is the only country which they are disadvantaged. I don't think any Westerners even can believe this when they keep hitting out at Hindu fundamentalists. So a Hindu fundamentalist is a very good person because he follows the fundamentals. Fundamentals means basics. The basic of the ground of building is a in German, at least. I don't know. So this a Hindu fundamentalist is an ideal person because he really follows his Dharma, whereas a Christian fundamentalist or a Muslim fundamentalist, he also follows exactly the scriptures and the church or the Quran or the Hadith. So that means he would have to believe and do something about it, that the whole world follows Christianity. Because Jesus said, go out in all countries and make disciples, baptize. And in Quran, it is so often mentioned, half of the Quran almost, that those kafirs, which are Hindus also, they will burn eternally in hell. They are the worst of creatures. They are don't make friends with them, and they deserve their fate. And it's terrible. They talk about us in a way which is not acceptable. I mean, if we have one axiom, if we believe in the fact that we are all human beings who have a right to be on earth. We have been born here and we have a right to be on earth. But then there is one book which says those people, they don't have the right. This is, and the proof, no proof. Just you have to believe it. And I don't know how to make people understand that the great God cannot possibly be so biased. There's one ex-Muslim. He lived in Germany. He's now living in America. He has a Twitter handle, Apostate Prophet. And I remember in one video he was telling that finally he told his parents that he is not a Muslim anymore. And ultimately, they knew already because friends had told him that he makes videos and so on. Parents were in Turkey. So once he went and he told them, and the parents were not at all happy because they were quite fundamentalists. He was a very strong believer at one point of time. He also said that sometimes the strongest believer, because they are very genuine, they really want to, um, yeah, they are honest. They have integrity. They want to live according to what is supposed to be right. So, but he started questioning, and then he couldn't believe it anymore. But then he said a very nice sentence. He said, actually, my parents, they would have to, have to kill me, actually, because I am now an apostate. I am not believing anymore in Quran. But he said, luckily, the majority of Muslims are not as bad as the Quran wants them to be. I mean, people are, that is so painful that we are brainwashed into things, and we are brainwashed into divisiveness. Even now, whether it is pro-vax, anti-vax, pro-Trump, pro-Biden, or whatever, we are so, this division, it is, I think there are some powers which want us to fight. And this is very painful. And Hindus are not the strongest group in this. So, but in a way, I am positive because I feel truth is with us. When a friend told me in Munich, she said, now there's many migrants, and many look like Indians also, whether they come from Persia or look. And she says, and some told me, I can recognize Indians. They have a different atmosphere about them. A better, she likes them better. So this is a mindset which is still here, but even just believing in Bhagwan and not putting others down. Even if a Hindu only knows about his tradition only this much anymore, it makes him a kinder human being than those who have this feeling of, I have to get them around, I have to, it is not a very healthy feeling to believe something blindly and then to act on it also, feeling compelled to act on it.
True, because the more there is a more chance of a person living in an Abrahamic society accepting or appreciating Hinduism than people living in India. It's just like it's a thing like the value of the home-based things is always less, and also it's a big colonial imposition also, because Indians, like even wherever they are now, it's changing a lot because of education, social media. Now, earlier it used to happen that we were not aware what is happening, like the World War I, World War II. Very few Indians are aware that more than 2.5 million Indians fought for the British in both World War I as well as World War II, both of them. Now they're getting aware of that. 1 in 7 doctors in the US is an Indian. Now Indians are getting aware of that how important it is. In fact, the current president quoted that I have more Indians surrounding me. I'm totally Indianized right now. Even his scriptwriter is an Indian. But the problem
As you
is,
said,
even his speech writer is an Indian. And I don't approve of his speech writing skills, because he told him, I am back. He took it from the Terminator dialogue over there. But the problem is, the most of the Indians are happy with just these achievements, but they are not there. If this is what, now these are all not very clean Hindus. They don't have much idea about Hinduism, but they look like Indians. They still have the thought process because of genes like Indians. Now, Indians will always have an upper hand because they live in the land and they have much more access to information about Sanatana Dharma. Don't you think it is necessary for Hindus to also start going out and sharing this knowledge with others?
You mean
Sharing
teaching?
the teaching others, yes, sharing the knowledge of Sanatana Dharma to others.
Yeah. I felt very strongly like I was once in Germany and there was a big supplement in the newspaper, in fact, in the airplane, about China, 4 pages on China. And they have these Confucius institutes and they do so much promotion for China. And I felt India has so much more. They have only Confucius and one saint, and India has so many. So, yeah, to teach Advaita, to teach, but I think it is taught to a certain extent, but it needs also what I sometimes feel in the West is you don't want um, to give up your, how to say, I mean, just this spiritual and not religious people. Sometimes there's also still a lot of egoism involved. This even it's difficult to say, but I met once a friend. She worked in near Paris in a Buddhist institution, and then she quit. She was doing jobs there really, but she was a Buddhist, and she came here to Satyalama in Dehradun, and I met her here in India. And then she wrote once a letter many years ago, 30 years ago. She wrote that, Maria, I have quit my job in this Buddhist center. You don't believe, I can't tell you how nice it is to be among normal human beings again. And I noticed this also when that there is a danger when you are not really being guided well to think, oh, I am one with everything. I am already Brahman. I can do what I want. And that is not really understood well. Do you know what I mean?
Yes, yes, I understood what you said, because this is a general thing, general feeling when they meet, when they come to Hinduism, mostly in the West, they feel the sign of relief, that yes, they can speak now and they can ask questions, because in any of their centers, any Abrahamic center you go, you cannot ask a question. So there is a program scheduled by the local church for me, ask any question, and I did not ask them, because I never say ask any question. The reason why I not say it, because I rely on Vyasdev and Valmiki to give me answers. So I said don't, because sometimes there is something else you discover. It's always a journey. But one thing I've seen, that the Indians do not read their own scriptures. They rely on Wikipedia and Quora to give them answers. And they also rely on, and the Wikipedia and Quora is like an opinion. It's no longer, because it is controlled by somebody else, controlled by Abrahamic faiths. And they rely on them and they get very confused. So in India, we'll talk about, and the Bollywood is a big culprit also over there now. But so do you, without reading your own scripture, it's like you have the honey bottle in front of you, but you never use a spoon to take out the honey and taste it. They don't do that. So they rely on derived knowledge. So, but you are reading it, and the last time you told me that you were reading Bhagavad Puran, and most of the Indians cannot tell you the difference between a Bhagavad Puran and Bhagavad Gita. Isn't it ironical that you coming from Germany, and it's always because you have a special interest over there, you can do that. But the Indian living, an average Indian which you meet on the street, has no difference. He cannot tell you the difference. So
yeah, because you are not really in this spiritual India, in the ashram atmosphere. So if your parents don't take you into it, then it's very difficult to get into it, because school is completely teaching you something very different. And it makes you even maybe skeptical. And I met once a girl, she was in Hindi medium in primary up to 12. And then she shifted, she studied, and she said, I almost quit it because it was so difficult for me to suddenly change into English. But she said all those classmates, but then she made it and she made her PhD there. But all those who, she said, all those who came through English medium right from the start, right from kindergarten, they are all atheists. She felt very connected, but most of she was saying this. Though her observation was that those classmates who came from English medium right from the start, they somehow become atheists, and they make fun of Hindu Dharma, which is very, very sad. By the way, Quora, I used to write for Quora quite a bit. I have many, many answers there, and I got quite many views, sometimes lakhs even. And then they cut me out so much. They have removed 7, 8 answers by me. Nothing wrong with these answers, just too Hindu friendly. And now when I post something, I hardly post anything, but then I get some 300, 600 views. It's very, very strange. I mean, even Google has somehow shadow banned my blog. When you type a title of one of my articles, the article comes, but on other websites, but not on my blog. It's very, very strange. And I am reasonable. I am never abusive. And I love Hindu Dharma, and I say it, and I feel it is really, really great, and the world should know about it. But the world will take the points which are there. Even Rajiv Malhotra has written a lot about this. They will take it, but they will not mention that it is from Hindu Dharma. They will say it is New Age. Recently, there was this, now Christianity says also God is within you, Jesus is within you, somehow in Christmas talks, my mother was telling me. But this attitude that you have to discover God within you, it's of course from here, from Hindu Dharma, from Sanatana Dharma. And they call it now a New Age, attitude or philosophy.
America's biggest preacher, Joel Austin, reads Bhagavad Gita daily, speaks from Bhagavad Gita. People think it is from Bible, but anyone who has read Bhagavad Gita and listens to his lectures, I met him once and I asked him, whatever you say is from Bhagavad Gita, why you hide it? Say it openly. It's a song of God available to you freely. He told me very clearly, I have to run my church. That's the answer he had. And so they steal the information. Now, you mentioned about the Indian schools. Now, when my kids and I go to India and meet the Indian children, we feel sorry for them. They're living in this great land and they are completely disconnected, especially people who go to the convent or English medium schools. They come out totally confused. And if you do not, so the education system, because it is different from the traditional family values, therefore the education system of India creates confused Indians. Like in a hot weather like India, who would like to wear a jeans? Very common question I have. In America, yes, because when you work in a farm, there is no land in America which cannot have cold mornings. Everywhere has a cold mornings and cold evenings. During the day, temperatures can be high, even in Texas. But the everything is identity is destroyed. So when a child comes out, he will automatically have less confidence than the others because identity is gone. His family is different, his cultural values are different, and the school is teaching them a half-baked portion of God what knows what it is. The content is missing. So don't you think this is a major problem in India? You can see from outside.
I find this English medium, I have written several articles on it. It is such a pain. It is so harming India. Even this PISA study once was taken, I think in 2009, India took part in assessment of student assessment. 15-year-old students were assessed in maths, science, and language. And India, there were 74 countries took part, but or cities also or states in India, Himachal and Tamil Nadu took part. And the last number 74 was Tajikistan, and 73 was Himachal, and 72 was Tamil Nadu. Can you believe? And all the first 10 was Singapore, Hong Kong, um, all Asian countries. And then only the Europeans and Americans came. And India was at the very end. I mean, this is all, it's, and when I wrote this article, I got so many comments that people were telling their own story and said, it was, my father put me into English medium because he had such trouble when he became engineer, when he had to switch to English. He wanted to make it easier for me, and I appreciate this. But it was so terrible because these nuns, they would talk to me and I didn't understand, and I was so frightened. And so this is a situation where these children are put, and then also you have to see that if it's a convent school, a Christian school, and the teachers are good Christians, means they look down on Hindus as heathen, then this is also very problematic. And I don't understand that India allows Christian schools teaching their children, because there is this attitude. Of course, there may be good teachers also, but if they come to missionaries also and want to bring them to their faith, because if they really believe in Christianity, they have to save them from eternal hell. So they have to subtly bring them, or they will look at them, they are damned forever, they will burn in hell. So this English medium is very, very harmful. And even worse, the convent schools. And this new law where schools have to take poor children from the neighborhood. And one government school teacher, she told me once that some of those children drop out. They are in English medium when they drop out because they don't manage with English. And then when they come to their government school, Hindi government school again, they just flourish. They become alive again. But when they come from the school, they are so timid. So there's a lot can be done. This English medium is, of course, also the content. I am not worried now about the so-called pandemic that there is no school, because, I mean, at least the children won't be brainwashed. Like one boy here on the compound, he went to a small Christian school, and once a year they had a Bible week, and he would tell me that Jesus carried his cross and so on. Nothing about Krishna, Rama. It is so painful, and you are so right. We have to work that it is taken. This history is taken as history, and not as myth. But the West, and they don't want it to happen. They will try everything. That
the West modus operandi is very similar. Like what they did to Roman Empire, they wanted the land. It was the faith which destroyed the Roman Empire, and the people who destroyed the faith became the kings of the Roman Empire. The Pope became the king of the Roman Empire, and even today that is continuing. And in India, it has become fashionable. They made it fashionable to be against Hinduism or Sanatana Dharma. It is fashionable. So, so that's how the media has worked on it. The Bollywood has worked on it, and also the Indian governments have worked on it. Indian governments have destroyed themselves more than anyone else. So, in the last 70 years, if somebody tells which is the biggest enemy of Indian people, and barring since 2014, before that, every successive Indian government was an enemy of Hindus, because they made everything possible to destroy their identity, confuse them, so that they question themselves more and others less. Don't you think this has happened very successfully?
That is so painful. And then the media comes in. I wonder why India has so many news channels. I really wonder. I mean, in Germany, you have to, I mean, very few news channels. I think even in China, very few. I mean, India has hundreds. Of course, there are regional language ones, but in spite of this, and I feel it is mainly to make one small issue really huge so that everybody thinks that is the most important issue. Like so many things don't come. You have to find them on the internet or somewhere. You have to search for them. They just won't bring it in the news. And they have one narrative, and it is, but it's not. I'm sometimes really surprised why Islam has such a good media coverage. It is quite amazing because not only in India, also in Germany, if somebody with a Muslim name commits a crime, it is usually not mentioned. Is that a man did it, or it is put in a small place, and when a German does it, it is front page. So I wonder why this is happening, because I mean Muslims have a terrible track record. For example, not in India. We know it in India, definitely. But even in other countries, they stomped right into Spain over North Africa. Of course, the Christians have done it first. The Christians were the first to claim that everybody has to follow Christianity. That's why they have the right to convert with violence also. And Muslims then maybe were even more violent. I learned in school that Islam spread with fire and sword. And I remember that this expression did not mean anything for me. It was just, we repeated Islam spread with fire and sword. It was, now I know what it meant. When you are 8-10 years old, it doesn't make sense. But the Hindus don't have a good press. I don't know why. They should have the best press.
You know, we can go on, and I think we can have a separate discussion on all these areas. But thank you so much, Maria Wirth, for coming on the show and educating us, and also sharing your worries, which is very real. And it's like an ostrich. Most of the Hindus are behaving like an ostrich. They think if they put their head in the hole in the ground, but the rest of the body is outside. So they have to really think that where are we going wrong with the greatest culture. It is the time for us to share and spread, and also defeat the attacks on them within India through the knowledge, because most things you can do through the knowledge also. And it will definitely create a stronger India and a stronger position for Sanatana Dharma, which is the only spiritual culture of the planet. There is no other spiritual culture. Everything else is there to occupy the land and to make money off of it. That's what it has done. Desmond Tutu very famously said earlier, they had the Bible and we had the land in Africa. Now we have the Bible, they have the land. And that's why you'll see a lot of African churning happening, which is violent now because people are frustrated. And to avoid that violence in the future, we have to correct the education system now. It's a big warning to India, because the people of India ultimately will fed up when they know that they've been cheated for 70 years. And it will be a worse situation to control. With 1.4 billion people, it will be a volcano, much drastic impact. So it's better for Indian government to wake up and do all the necessary corrections. Bring the personal value system in the main education curriculum also. And Indians have Indians always say that they're lacking occupation, but God has given them eternal occupation to share Sanatana Dharma. And which everyone is looking for. There are more than 200 countries who want to get this peace into their country, because democracy cannot sustain without intelligent people. And Sanatana Dharma creates thinking individual people, strong people. So thank you, Maria. And thank you all the viewers for watching. Namaste.
Thank you. Namaste.